Hey guys, it's Katie, and welcome back to That Time When, my podcast where I basically just tell you all of my secrets and stories and hope that the things that I learned and the advice I have to give help you out in some way. Before I get into today's episode, I do want to talk about how I finally told everyone that I know about my podcast. I know that sounds kind of obvious. Like when you start your podcast, you would think that you just tell the people you know because it's kind of, I don't want to say a guaranteed way to get a listenership, but at least like the people who care about you, hopefully they'll actually care about what you're working on too and they'll listen to your podcast. But like I talked about in my episode all about insecurities and facing challenges, I was so terrified to tell people. Like, obviously, that was, like I said in the episode, a really vulnerable episode. And I hope that I have other episodes where I'm being just as raw and genuine as that, which of course I will. But like, I was so scared to tell people. And the support that I got from people was really, I don't want to say it was shocking, but it kind of was shocking. I wasn't expecting people to be as supportive as they were. Like, I got messages from people that I haven't spoken to in years, just like congratulating me and telling me that they're going to give it a listen or saying that they have listened and they thought it was really funny. Like, guys, I was not expecting that. So if you're one of those people, thank you so much. I really didn't think people were going to care that much what I have to say. And like, I always think I'm so funny, and I tell people all the time, I think I'm hysterical, but I didn't think other people would think I'm that funny. But people have been telling me I'm funny. So like, thanks guys. You're really blowing up my ego over here. I'm kind of kidding, but I'm not that kidding. I am. Just kidding. But anyways, sorry if it's really loud in here. I feel like every time I film these or record these on my bed, you can just hear me like moving around. And I've tried editing the audio to reduce the background noise, but I feel like it makes my voice sound weird. So I don't love it when I edit the audio. And I just like when it feels like I'm just sitting here talking to you guys, which is exactly what I'm doing. I have been recording most of these just sitting on my bed. And it just feels a little bit more authentic for me that way. So that's what we're doing. Today's episode, unlike most of my episodes, I usually have an outline for my episodes to like let you guys in on the secret behind this podcast, I guess. I usually write out a whole outline just to make sure that I don't get off track, because I have a tendency to get off track or to like ramble or go off on a tangent and then forget where I was. So my outlines are kind of my way of making sure that these episodes aren't horrifically challenging for you guys to follow along with. But today's episode, I don't have an outline for. I kind of just want to like talk and see what happens. The episode all about dealing with insecurities, I didn't have an outline for that one either. I just recorded it when I was like really feeling in the mood to talk and felt like I had a lot of good shit to say. And I thought it came out pretty good. I'll probably still do outlines for most of my episodes, but this one I think we're just going to try it out and see how it goes. So I want to talk about dealing with guys who string you along. Now, for some reason, my episode all about my ex-boyfriend is like my most listened to episode so far. I understand why. Like, it's a really crazy story and everyone loves the juicy shit, and I definitely did kind of a clickbaity title for that. So I don't blame you guys for like going right to that one. I would too, honestly, if I was just clicking on this podcast. So not that I'm going to do a clickbait title for this. I might. I guess we'll see. If you're clicking on it, then you know if I did or not. But I want to just talk about guys who string you along, because I feel like talking about boys is always fun, and talking about shitty boys is for some reason more fun. Like shit talking them with other girls, I just really enjoy. So I haven't filmed or recorded. I keep saying filmed. Like, this is not a vlog. We are not on YouTube. We are a podcast. I haven't recorded my episode yet all about online dating and like my challenges and experiences with online dating. And that's honestly just because I have so much to say that I just have been too lazy to really put my thoughts on paper for that. So we're going to do like a little taste of it. I literally wrote down, if you could see just in the one-liner note that I have for this episode, I wrote down like a few guys' names of guys that I dealt with who just strung me along. And that's what we're going to go with. So I feel like in today's world with online dating, when guys can literally just swipe to whatever they want, it's so much easier for them to just string us along, because they're always out there looking for the next best things. They kind of just keep you hooked on there until like they find something better. And first off, like, fuck you, rude. I'm not here to play games. I mean, maybe at one point I was, but at least not with these guys. Like the guys whose names I'm looking at right now, like I wasn't trying to play, like I liked them, but they just fucked with me, and that's so not cool. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. The thing that I've been thinking about lately is like, who the hell are you to think that you can screw with my life like that. Like, it is my life. I get one of them. Who are you to take up and waste my time just to fuck me around? Like, that's not cool, guys. That is not cool. And I know that girls do that too. And I'll be honest, I've been that girl, and I do regret it. Like, I'm really sorry to any of the guys I did that to. There were very few, though. Guys have fucked me over way more than I have fucked guys over, for the record. But the first guy, what is it with me and guys who went to my high school? This guy, he went to my high school, but he was a lot younger than I was. He was a freshman when I was a senior. And I am not even going to lie to you about how I reconnected with him. I was absolutely hammered, like blackout hammered, at a bar the night before Thanksgiving. And apparently he came up to me. I only learned this after the fact, so I'm retelling you based on what he told me happened. But he came up to me. Yes, he started this whole thing. I didn't initiate this. He started it. Even bigger reason to be like, fuck you. But anyways, he came up to me and he was like, oh, you're so-and-so's sister, right? He mentioned my brother. And I was like, apparently I said, in very typical drunk Katie fashion, I said, who the fuck are you? And yeah, that's my drunk voice. I can imitate my own drunk voice so well, and it's actually embarrassing because it's so accurate that I really sound like that when I'm drunk. But I was like, who the fuck are you? And he told me who he was. I barely remembered him, I guess. But then I started like being all about it. He said at one point I like grabbed his ass and grabbed it hard, which, if true, I'm not surprised by. It's something drunk me would do, but also I don't remember doing it. So that's that. Also, kids, don't black out. Don't recommend it. Done it too many times. Sucks. The hangover anxiety you feel the next day is the worst. If you don't know what hangover anxiety is, it's like when you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach the morning you wake up after a blackout. Yeah, hangover anxiety, so real. But anyways, apparently I grabbed his butt and we like exchanged numbers, and then a few days later I woke up with major hangover anxiety. I was like, ooh, whatever, like, thank God he didn't text me, yada yada. I woke up to a message like, hope you got home safe. Like, how nice. Thank you. I did. I actually almost slept on my trampoline that night, and my mom found my wallet in the backyard the next morning, but I did get home safe. Thank you, after trying to sneak in for an hour. Anyways, okay, so a few days later I was out at a bar, slightly tipsy again. This was back when I was different than I am now. And I got a text message and I was like, fuck, it's the guy. And I have literally no clue who he is. So I did my super stalking shit where you like save their phone number in your phone as a random contact. And then you go to Snapchat and you look at the Snapchat username and you type it into Instagram. It wasn't the same username. Most of the time, it is the same username. Fun fact, a lot of people use the same username for Snapchat and Instagram, so it usually makes it easy to figure out who it is. It wasn't, but his Snapchat username gave away who he was, and I was like, why does that name sound so familiar? And then I realized it was this guy who was literally a freshman when I was a senior, and he was the boyfriend of this freshman who was on my cheerleading squad. So I was like, oh, fuck. Like, what did I do? I literally got involved with a 21-year-old at the age of, I think I was 24 at the time. Probably. So I was like, God damn it. So me, though, just being like a little tipsy that night, I was like, I'm just going to text them back. Like, who cares? Like, let's just see how this where this goes. I had no intention of screwing him over, for the record. I wasn't about to do what he did to me eventually, but nonetheless. So we start texting and we eventually like hang out again. And first off, seeing him again for the first time after that blackout was super awkward. I was like very weird. I was like, I'm sober now. I'm probably a totally different person than the one that you talked to a few nights ago, because I don't even know who she was. But anyways, it was really weird. But we actually hit it off really well. Like, when I say, I don't believe in love at first sight, but I do believe in like lust and infatuation at first sight, kind of. And when we soberly hung out, we hit it off so well. Like, I was like completely shocked. I remember texting my friends being like, guys, like, I really, really like this guy a lot. Like, we hit it off. I was so obsessed with him almost immediately. Like, we texted constantly. We Snapchatted constantly for a few weeks at least. And then my birthday came around, and he bought a hotel room for my birthday. First off, he got us a hotel room, and we went to a Bruins game and like went to dinner and then stayed in a hotel for the night. And it was one of the best birthdays I've ever had. Like, to this day, even though I'm not his biggest fan, to say the least, anymore, it was one of the best birthdays I've ever had. And like, when I say we did not stop talking the entire hockey game and we didn't even watch the hockey game, I seriously mean it. Like, we were so engrossed in each other and just like the conversation we were having, like we were so obsessed with each other, and like the text messages we sent back and forth were sickening. Like, it makes me want to vomit now thinking about how fucking cheesy they all were. But like, I was just so into him, and everything he said made me think he was just as into me, like so into me. And it went so well that night. Like, I remember the next day, I was so happy when I went home. Like, we were driving, he drove us both there. So we were driving home from Boston because we lived in the same town, obviously, because we went to high school together, you know, freshman and senior. Ugh, gross. But we were driving back, and I just remember I was so happy. Like, so happy. It was gross. But anyways, so we're like in this total just like little infatuation bubble with each other, and we're texting and whatever. And then all of a sudden he just ghosts me, like out of nowhere, ghosts me, and like will not respond to me at all. And I'm devastated. Like, I thought that me and this guy were like in love already after a few weeks. Like, it really was so hot and heavy from the beginning that I thought we were like in love. And then he's gone. He's fucking gone. And it is right before Christmas, by the way. Like, this is not the spirit of the season. Like, what the fuck are you doing to me right now? You're supposed to be a little bit more generous. But nope, he's gone. So whatever. So I'm like devastated. Now, I tried to get past it. I tried reaching out to him a few times. He never responded. Like, he really just would not answer me back at all. And then, I don't remember. I think it was like a couple months later, maybe a month and a half later, he reached out to me and told me why he stopped talking to me, and gave me kind of like a BS excuse. Like, I was trying to be understanding because it had to do with like the health of a family member, but like that wasn't a valid reason to just literally ghost me after everything and like totally never speak to me again. Like, I don't know. I was trying to be polite because I am that kind of girl who would rather be polite than just like tell a guy what he needs to hear. But anyways, what's your toxic trait? So I kind of like forgave him, whatever, but like nothing started back up after that. Like, we didn't, you know, get things going again, whatever. And then a couple months go by, and he worked at this car place, and I needed an oil change. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go there and we'll see how this goes. So I go, and we see each other again, and all of a sudden, it's literally, he's saying all these things to me, like right back where we started, like saying the same kind of shit to me that pulled me in the first time. And I was right back into it. I was like, okay, it's going to work this time around. Like, we are on. Like, let's do it. Like, I think I love this guy. But what does he do? Do I even need to tell you? He fucking ghosts me again. Like, he's gone again. What the fuck? Why do they do this? Someone please explain to me. If you're a boy listening to this, I don't think I have any male listeners yet, but if you're a boy listening to this, please fucking explain to me why you people do this. Like, you're playing with my heart, man. That is rude. But anyways, I'm not going to give you all the details because I do have other stories to tell you guys about this. But we went back and forth. Like, he ghosted me and we talked again, like, probably 2 more times after this. And it was so shitty because, like I said, I really liked this guy. And it was just, like, back and forth with my emotions. And it sucked. I just didn't understand it. And like every time we would reconnect, he would tell me how I'm like so special and he cares about me so much and he has such strong feelings for me, but like he's just not like in the right place for it. And like now, being a few years removed from the situation, I'm like, okay, like this guy just didn't like me as much as I thought he did, and he just didn't have the balls to tell me, is what I personally think. If you have a different take on it, I would love to hear it. Please let me know. And also, you don't need to come for me for going back to him so many times, or at least trying to. Like, I know I was being a dumb bitch. Thank you very much. But anyways, like, how shitty is that? That's the worst, is when guys like get real deep in their emotions and like make you think it's something real and then they just pull the plug. That hurts way more than the guys who just like were hooking up with you and decided they didn't want to bang you anymore and they found a new girl. Like, those don't hurt as bad as the ones that like really get in your feels, understandably. But speaking of those ones, the next one, this motherfucker. Oh, I have like, I'm not going to give you all the details of this story. There are certain details I have to withhold, but I will give you the gist of it. So this guy, I met him the summer after I broke up with the Craigslist boyfriend. Yes, the Craigslist cheating boyfriend. So we're talking summer 2014. I was like freshly single. I had never been with like anyone else, like dated anyone else, whatever. And I meet this guy, not gonna lie, met him on, I think Tinder, probably Tinder, maybe Bumble. I don't know. I met him on an app. So we start hanging out and I really liked him right away. And I think this was just because I was so inexperienced with like, you know, dating around. Like, I had dated the same guy for so long that I just didn't really like, I hadn't had enough dating experience to like really truly understand my feelings about people, if that makes any sense at all. So I meet this guy and we're hanging out and like I'm really, really into him. And we're hanging out on and off for like months, like July to end of November, like early December. And a couple of shady things had happened like over those 6 months. He would never accept my friend request on Facebook, which now I know is a huge red flag. At the time, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I don't know why. Like, I was just stupid, I guess. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But, like, now that's a huge red flag. If a guy is, like, hiding his social media from you or, like, being really shady about stuff like that, he's hiding something. Like, don't be stupid. Don't put your blinders on and choose to ignore it. You know what's going on. Like, we girls, we all have that sixth sense kind of intuition. Like, you know what's going on. Like, listen to that. But anyways, he also, I remember it was like Halloween and he was going to some party and he sent me a picture of him in his Halloween costume. It was very clearly he had cropped everyone else out. And at the time I thought like, oh, he's just sending me a picture of like just him. But now looking back, I'm like, he was cropping girls out, like duh. And we'll get there. But that was weird. He also would never, in those whole 6 months, he never like introduced me to any of his friends or like his family or anything, which understandable in like adult relationships, I guess, to wait a really long time to introduce each other to like your family, but to not even meet his friends felt very bizarre to me. So that was another red flag. So finally, I was just feeling weird. Like this guy, he had been like telling me like he liked me. We'd been hanging out for all this time. But again, those little red flags, like it just didn't feel like things were going anywhere. And after 6 months, you would think that maybe things are going somewhere. But like guys nowadays just have that problem where they'll like, you know, hook up with you and like hang out with you for literally a year and then be like, oh no, it's not serious, man. Like she's my friend. But whatever. So then I remember I was just like, this is fucking weird. Like this guy is just, I'm over this. Like I want things to move faster. It's been 6 months of the same bullshit. Like what are we doing? So I started doing some Facebook stalking. Because he denied my friend request again on Facebook. I had requested him at this point like 3 times and he denied it again. And I called him out and I was like, why do you keep denying my friend request? And he wouldn't give me an answer. So I go to his Facebook and you know when you're not friends with someone but certain things are public or like if they get tagged in something, depending on what that person's privacy settings are, you might see it and you might not. Well, some girl tagged him in a picture of them on a date at a hockey game, like all cozy and snuggly, and they were for sure like dating. Like, you know, when you just look at a picture and you're like, oh yeah, like that's not like a friendship thing, like that's a couple. It was so obvious they were a couple. Oh, guys, I can still, even just telling this story, I can like feel my blood boiling. So anyways, I confront him. I screenshot the picture, obviously, and I like text it to him because, you know, I'm trying to start some shit now. So I send it to him. And he spills everything. He tells me, actually, no. Now that I'm remembering the story, at first he tried to deny it and say she was a friend, but then I was like, bullshit. And then he told me everything. He told me that's his girlfriend, capital G, girlfriend. And they've been together for months, so since September. So I go to her Facebook. that Halloween costume picture he sent me, yeah, she was standing right next to him in it. That's why he fucking cropped people out. Because his girlfriend was next to him. His girlfriend! Oh my God. So yeah, so that's that. So I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I get so pissed. I go off on him. And like, this was a guy, after 6 months, I really liked him. And I thought if we're still hanging out 6 months later, he must like me too. Nope. Just kidding. I was the side chick. So yeah, so I like confront him over text message and I'm so upset. And I insisted that he see me face to face to like, you know, apologize to my face. I was like, you owe me. There's some other things that go into this that I won't talk about. But after some of the other shit, like he owed me a face-to-face apology. And he was so hesitant to do it. But I demanded it. So I drove to his town and we like met up somewhere and he apologized. And he still was like being weirdly defensive. I was like, you have nothing to defend yourself for right now. Like, fuck you. I threatened to tell his girlfriend and he got really upset with me. I didn't do it. I'm still torn on that. Like, what do you guys think about when you find out you're the side chick? Like, do you tell the girlfriend or do you not? On the one hand, me, it's like I'd want to know if my boyfriend was cheating on me. Like, I would hope that if the girl found out, she would tell me. But then on the other hand, I'm like, I guess where I was coming from at the time, my position on it was, I don't want to get involved in this drama. Like, I want to remove myself from this situation. You screwed me over and I want nothing to do with it. Because I'm the kind of person that, like, once I break up with someone or end things, like, you'll never see or hear from me again, pretty much. There has been, like, very, very few exceptions to that rule for me. But I haven't made an exception with boyfriends. None of my ex-boyfriends have ever seen or heard from me again. So great on me. But what are your thoughts? Like, do you tell the girlfriend or do you not? I don't know. I don't think I ever have. And, like, that I just basically outed myself that I've been the side chick more than once. But I don't think I've ever told the girlfriend that, like, they were being cheated on. But anyways, like, what are your thoughts? So to end off that story, one of my old jobs, I worked, I'm not going to say where I worked, but I worked somewhere where, like, I would run into people that I knew all the time. Like, it's a public place. And I would see people I knew constantly. And so, of course, one day I'm at work and I'm doing my thing and I'm trying to, like, do my job. And who do I run into but him and his girlfriend? They are, to this day, they're still together. They're actually engaged, I saw. Because I'm so creepy and I still, like, stalk people on Facebook sometimes. But they're actually engaged. So clearly she never found out that he cheated on her for the first, like, 3 months of their relationship. But yeah, I literally, his face turned ghostly white. And I never said anything, obviously, because I'm a nice person. But his face turned so ghostly white when he saw me. So that was really funny. But anyways, like, that's the thing. Guys who string you along just to, like, hook up with you, like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, don't mess with my head. Like, if you just want someone to hook up with, if you just want a friends with benefits, just say that off the bat and let me make the decision for myself whether I want to be part of that situation or not. Don't make that decision for me. This is not your life. You don't get to make that decision for me. Not cool. So the last kind of guy who strings you along that I want to talk about is, like, the man child, basically. There was this guy. The story of how I met him is kind of funny. It's very typical old Katie. If my friend Steph is listening to this, she actually reminded me about this, and I had plans to tell it, but it's really funny that this was one of the first things that she was like, I really hope you tell this story. I met him outside of a burger place in Boston one night when I was really drunk. So basically, I went to my 5-year high school reunion. If you're familiar with Boston, it was in Kenmore Square at a bar. And I went by myself, and I was, like, kind of planning to just, like, dip whenever I could. So I go to my 5-year reunion. I get pretty drunk at my 5-year reunion. And when I used to get drunk in Boston and be, like, bopping around a lot, I always went to Tasty Burger at the end of the night. If you haven't had Tasty Burger in Boston, it is life-changing. I think it's way better than Shake Shack. I've never had In-N-Out, but I could guarantee you it's probably better. Tasty Burger is the shit. And my drunk thing was, at the end of the night, I would go to Tasty Burger before I went home. So I was planning on getting my butt over to Tasty Burger and then calling myself an Uber back to my parents' house and going home. So I go to Tasty Burger thinking they're still open, and I'm, like, banging on the door, and they're not open. And there's these 3 guys out front who look like they're my age, and they're like, it's not open. And I was so upset, and so I, like, start shooting the shit with them because I'm just drunk. When I'm drunk, I'll talk to anyone. Like, I really don't care. I'm just chit-chatting with these guys. And so they tell me, well, we're going to go to the one over in Cambridge. I think it was in Harvard Square. They were like, we're going over there if you want to come. And so I'm like, I don't know. Should I like go with these guys? So I asked them like where they're from, and they tell me what town they're from. And it's a town like very close to the town I grew up in. And it's like, I'm not even going to lie to you, it's a very rich town. So I wasn't very worried about these guys. I should have been more careful. Don't ever go anywhere in the middle of the night with people you don't know. Learn from my mistakes. But I went. It was like 1 a.m, and we go over to Harvard Square, and they bought me Tasty Burger. So in the end, like, it clearly worked out. I got Tasty Burger out of it. But to get to where we're actually trying to get with this story, one of the guys from that night, we kind of, we were like feeling each other. We were vibing, whatever. So we exchanged numbers, and we start hanging out because, he literally lived like 10 minutes from where I lived. So we went to a bar one night, and we like hung out more soberly with me not getting in a cab drunk with them at 1 a.m. to eat Tasty Burger. So we really like hit it off. Things are going really good. And we start hanging out a lot. Like, I meet his friends. So unlike, the second guy I just talked about, I met his friends. Like, he's introducing me to people. And we hung out like all the time. I don't want to say all the time, but like we were hanging out consistently for like a little while. But every time we hung out, he was always drunk, like always drunk. And I started to realize he was only hitting me up after he like went out for a few and like wanted someone to hang out with. And if he was sober, he wouldn't really text me back that much. And like, it was just such an immature thing. So like, I would reach out to him. He'd say, yeah, sure. Like maybe in a little bit, like, can I hit you up later? And I'd be like, yep, okay. Would never hear from him. Or, we'd be texting, and like, he would be just very obviously super intoxicated by his text messages, and like the conversation would just never go anywhere. But then we would hang out, and he would be like all over me, and it was like really fun and really good and whatever. So he just strung me along like that for such a long time. And then finally, I'm pretty sure I told him how I really felt about him. And he like wasn't about it. Like, he just wasn't feeling it. And I think that's why things kind of just fizzled out. I don't remember all the details of this story, but at one point, like before I, told him how I was really feeling, I was trying to like make it obvious. So I took him to a Bruins game, and we had a really good time. And he put me on his Instagram story for like a hot second, and then he deleted it. And when I called him out for deleting it the next day, because clearly he was drunk and put me on his story and thought nothing of it, and soberly he was like, ooh, I can't have other chicks seeing that. So he deleted it, and I called him out, and he was like, no, I didn't. Like, that was never on my story. I'm like, bitch, I watched it. Like, don't lie to me. So anyways, also that night, like, I shouldn't out him for this, but we were at a bar. I should out him for this because it's, like, funny. But we were at a bar, and I was really liking him. I was, like, trying to make it obvious I really liked him. And all of a sudden, he starts crying. And I'm like, what is wrong? Like, I'm asking what's wrong. And he's telling me he just really misses his ex-girlfriend. What the fuck is my life? Like, he's crying. I took him on, like, an expensive-ass date. I've spent way too much money on boys for dates. Like, learn from me. Save your fucking money for someone who matters. Like, don't take shitty boys on expensive dates. But anyways, he starts crying. And tells me he misses his ex-girlfriend. So I get pissed, and I, like, stormed out. I, like, paid the tab. I flagged the bartender down, asked him for a shot of Patron Silver, because for some reason when I'm very drunk, I just always ask the bartender for, like, a shot of Patron Silver, and I think I'm so cool. So I down the shot, and I pay the tab, and I walk out, and he's, like, running after me, trying to keep up with me. It is snowing. I run, and we get on the T. The T is, like, the train in Boston, if you're not familiar, the subway. I get on the T, and we go one stop, and I'm on the train, and I'm thinking in my head, like, I have to pee so freaking bad. So I jump off at the next stop, and he's, like, running to catch me. And we go into another bar, and I, like, throw my debit card out, and I'm like, buy me a Bud Light. Like, so trashy of me, I know. And especially if you knew what bar I was in, like, so trashy of me. So I, like, go to the bathroom, and then I chug my beer, and I don't even think I told him to buy himself a drink. I think I told him he could only buy me a drink with it. I chug my beer, and we leave. So, like, I should have known that night that this guy was just, like, stringing me along and fucking with me. But I'm pretty sure I eventually told him how I felt, and he told me he just didn't feel the same way about me. So we, like, stopped hanging out. But guys will do this funny thing when they want to get your attention, or at least, like, guys in my recent history, not recent history, but like my past, have done this funny thing where when they want your attention, they'll like randomly like a bunch of your Instagram pictures in the middle of the night because they think that that's just an obvious sign. It's like the fuckboy call that like they want to hook up with you again. Like if you get a bunch of random likes on your Instagram picture in the middle of the night, you know what they want. So he would like do that, and I always ignored it. And we never really, I don't think we ever hung out again after all of that. Like after I kind of was like, you screwed me over. He did reach out to me though to apologize at one point and like told me he was sorry for the way he treated me. So this one at least has a happy ending. Like he knew he was stringing me along and fucking with me, but he was just such a man-child because it was like he was just living life so immaturely. Like he just wanted to party and get drunk and like, you know, do his thing and like be with his boys and do stupid stuff. And he never was really looking for anything serious because he was just like in his head, I think, was still like, you know, 19 years old. So anyways, boys stringing you along just sucks because it's like you get your feelings invested in something and like they don't even care. And I keep saying this, but it's like you don't get to make that choice for me that you get to waste my time. Like that's not cool. I just think that you should be straight up. Like if you're not feeling something, just tell me. Like let me leave if I want to. You might be surprised. Maybe a girl will be down to just be your friends with benefits once you tell her you're not feeling something serious. Maybe you'll get lucky. I don't know. You probably won't because you already pulled some fuckboy shit on them. But maybe you'll get lucky and they'll actually say yes. But I just don't think that's cool. And it kind of pisses me off looking back on it now. I'm like, I wasted not a lot of time. I'm still so young. I'm 27. Like I haven't wasted a lot of time. But like for the short time that I was single, I wasted a lot of that time on guys who did not like me the way I liked them. And they wanted one thing from me and I wanted another. And I felt like I was being upfront with my feelings, but they were definitely not being upfront. And that's just not cool. I don't really have a whole lot of advice to give you guys about guys who string you along other than that. I think this was more of a story time than anything. But I think some of my advice nuggets that I sprinkled throughout this episode were pretty good. Little gems. So if you go over to my Instagram, I would love if you would comment on my last post some of your shitty dating stories about guys who have strung you along. Because I think that, especially in today's day and age, if you've ever been on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, etc., you probably have some of them. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode if you enjoyed it. I really like doing story times. I think they're funny, and I hope you guys enjoy them too, but let me know if you do. And like I said, share your shitty stories on my last Instagram post. Also, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I would really appreciate if you left me a review. Those reviews go a really long way for me, and I think they might help other people see this. I don't know. I feel like the more reviews you have, maybe Apple like pushes your podcast out to more people. And I really want other people to hear my story times too, where I expose myself like I just did today. So please leave me a review, and I will talk to you guys next Monday. I hope you have a great week. Talk to you soon.